What's going on, y'all? It's Jared, the Lanyard Legend podcast host. Today on the show, we'll be interviewing Mr. Russell Drake. He is one of the busiest men in the world. He's an engineer by day. He's a civil rights activist by night. He's a pastor. He's a father. He's a mentor. I mean, he does it all. How you doing today, Mr. Drake?
I'm wonderful. Let me thank you for the opportunity. You do great shows. I looked at your stuff online. Your podcasts are picking up, and I hope everybody continues to subscribe to them because you're covering real issues with real people. Got nothing but love for you, as well as your wife, who's my classmate, and fellow Howard Bison. And the next time I'm in New Orleans, I look forward to y'all treating me to that wonderful gumbo.
Most definitely, we will do that. All right. So tell the people a little bit about yourself. Get a little bit bio about you.
There's a little bit. I'm a native of Gary, Indiana, alumni of Howard University. I'm an engineer by yes, sir. I'm an engineer by trade, and my passion is in helping people. I'm a community advocate. I work to help Black people in every sense of the word, not just African Americans, but Black, including Haitian American, Caribbean American, Black Mexican, Black Puerto Rican, African American, Black. We all Black across the globe. So I'm committed. I got this fist on my shirt, and at the bottom it says unity. It's all in unity. I spread one love with everything I try to do.
All right, that's what's up. All right, so let's just start from the beginning. So you went to Howard, one of the Meccas. You know what I'm saying? If anybody don't know, my wife went to Howard, right? So she called it the Mecca. I've been a couple of Howard homecomings, off the chain, of course. So, so what you why you went Howard University? Why did you major in computer engineering?
It's interesting. I followed my older brother into engineering. Actually, my older brother, he's a genius. He was brilliant. Taught me everything I knew about math and science, and he got into computers. This is way before the internet is what it was. So I followed him into computers. My brother, 2 years younger than me, followed us into computers as well. My brother would always say, "This is the way of the future." Even my parents didn't know how futuristic he was with it. So I followed him into it, was good in math, was good in science, and, was blessed to keep it up and finish and get a job in the industry after.
Okay. So, yeah, let's talk about it. You don't have to drop no names or anything, but you work for 2 Fortune 500 companies. So how was that transition going from Howard University, moving into a reputable, one of the Fortune 500 companies?
It was interesting. I think for the workload, I was completely prepared. At our HBCUs, I think you specialize in learning about patients and just getting registered, and then just getting the opportunity to get to classes because not everything was in the best of order when I was at Howard. After you got through all that, you work in groups, and not every group is the group that you may want or choose, but you work with it. So when I got in the workplace, there were no complaints. My thing was to always make sure that I was adding value, improving my worth. So I was working hard from the get-go, coming in early, staying late, coming on weekends. I saw different people complaining about this and that, and I never thought about complaining because I was like, I want to advance, I want to learn, I want to rise up and, continue to work in it. And here I've been in the industry now like 18 years.
Okay. All right. So what did you notice? Because I'm in the IT arena as well. What are the most challenging things about being a Black person in the IT arena?
That's a great question. Very timely. I think you got to realize a lot of people, everybody's got different backgrounds. And for some people, I was the first Black person they've ever worked with in this aspect. and they were confused, didn't know if I would have a chip on my shoulders, didn't know how educated I was, didn't know what to expect. I'm in the same realm. I'm from Gary, Indiana, is an all-black city. I went to all-black schools my whole life. Howard University is an all-black school. So I was in a new environment in the corporate world. I'd never been around, been a minority in any professional industry until I went to work at Lockheed Martin. And then I just took it on the chin and said, hey, it's all about work. I do think that people underestimate folks because they're Black on occasion. Some people try to treat Blacks like they're remedial. Other folks are a little bit scared. I'm 6'4" and over 260 pounds. So, some people are just a bit standoffish when they see a big
Right.
like that. And especially if it's on that dress down Friday, I got some unique shirts. And to be honest, looks powerful, but this is one of my more conservative shirts. So I think it was a cultural shock to a lot of people, but I never let it stop me. I had the opportunity to do a number of international trips and installs with Lockheed Martin across the nation, in which I think my culturalism helped me out on those trips. Many of them were to the Middle East, where where this beard came in handy, and at the time things got short, so I blended in more than most on those trips. But there, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge there's definitely barriers and some discrimination that occurs in the workplace.
Okay.
I think one of the things, and that may be one of your questions. So let me stop.
Yeah. I'll get to it. So you've been grinding. You've been with 2 Fortune 500 companies. So you've been moving up the ladder. You had to deal with a lot of things. Being Black, but you're still excelling. Have you ever had to feel any type of pressure that you had to be better than your other counterparts to rise up in any organization?
Absolutely. I think absolutely. And in the workplace, everybody wants to get to promoted, get raises, and you see other people getting promoted, and you'll say, man, how'd that guy or how'd that young lady get promoted? I've been here longer. I put in longer hours, and there's something to be said about how you carry yourself that can go a long way in a workplace. See, I've always kept a good attitude, right? So your attitude determines your altitude longevity. So I had the attitude down pat. But there are certain images that I think they look for in the workplace. And if you have a certain image, some people try to take you under their wing and push you up further and advocate for you further and further. And I had advocates along the way, but some of them retired, some of them transitioned to different companies, and so it's like you have your performance, that's one P. Then you have your image, that's a I, and then you have exposure, that's an E, and that acronym is PI. And really the biggest piece of that acronym is the exposure. So many people are talented and don't get the exposure that this person's doing great work, or even if some people know they're doing great work, people may want to take credit and try to move up themselves, or you're doing so good that they can try to sit on you. To be honest, when I worked the most hours in a year, I'm talking about I worked all kind of overtime. I stayed late, came early. When I worked the most hours, I got the worst ratings in the workplace. And then when I worked the least amount of hours, said, you know what? I'm going to take vacation. I'm not coming doing this. I'm not staying late. I'm not doing any overtime. I got some of the best ratings. And
Okay.
I was shocked. It's almost like, when people see you're hungry and trying to feed, they'll just keep shoving stuff to you. And, if you find yourself, you're at work and it's like, everybody says this is important. This is the most important thing, but I'm the only one here. It can't be that important. So, it's like when you realize that, you kind of realize your own worth and know, you know what? I'm worth something, so I don't need to be here this late. if it's this important, they they feel like they're worth something, they'll be in here too. So I started looking at things differently and knowing my worth and pacing myself. And one year I got the highest rating at the work in my job, like what they call a top performer or something. And I got a good size raise and was happy. It's funny. It seemed after that, oh man, it just all went down. Folks were like, he got the highest rating. Yeah, let's start taking some work from him. When we put somebody over you and things of that sort, and that happens in the workplace. It's you're frustrated about it, and I stayed a little longer than I probably should have, but everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. But ideally, if that happens for anybody listening, you should be looking for other opportunities. If somebody's undervaluing you, you're blessed, you got skills, you got talent, you got the educational background, you got the drive. It's like you can go somewhere else or start your own thing too.
Right. I agree with that. All right. So besides being an engineer by day, you have multiple things that you do outside for the community. We were just discussing it before we started coming on online. How you doing your thing with Black businesses? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Jared. So I have been I put myself on a challenge this year in February, right? Every February for the last 15 or 16 years, I've shared a Black history fact every day in the month of February, just to educate people for Black History Month. And this year I said, I will share a Black history fact, but it's also time for an upgrade. We're 1/5 of the way through the century. Black History Week, Negro History Week was started in the 1920s. So that means we're in the final decade of it, making that a century of Black History Month. And so I said, hey, I need to upgrade. If we reflect on all the historical figures who did great things through history, what they really wanted us to do 100+ years later was to have our own businesses and put Black dollars towards them. So I said, I'm going to start a movement for whoever follows me for this month of February to support a Black business every day. And first it was difficult because a lot of our Black businesses aren't open late. They're limited hours, depending on what the industry is. So it was tough. I was like, all right, I gotta run here, run there, and so I was like, all right. I started picking up a little stride on about the 8th or 9th day. I think I went to a conference, and there are about 5 businesses there that I could support. I was able to purchase some art. I was able to purchase some clothes and different things. So it's like after I got midway through the month, I realized I'm going to have more than 29 businesses that I'm featuring and supporting. And so I was like, looks like I'm going to go all the way through March, right? Then after getting all the way through March, as I got close to 60-day mark, 60 straight days of supporting a different Black business, one of my good frat brothers came to me and said, Wilt Chamberlain scored 60 points in about 50 games, but nobody remembers. They only remember when he scores 100. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, you got to go for 100 if you want it to count. So I was like,
okay.
I was like, that's a lot, but let me get to 100. And then more people were pushing me. The African American Chamber of Commerce here was pushing me and supporting me in the effort. A lot of friends were supporting me. A lot of people from afar were supporting me, just, pushing me, encouraging me, radio stations. So I kept going and got to 100. After I got to 100, it was like, again, I had more businesses, people reaching out. I'm finding them, and it's like, what's better than 100? 2. So I kept going, and it said, let's keep it going. And now I'm approaching day 160 with the goal of getting to 200. But to be honest, as I get closer to 200, I may have to keep going to 300. It's a continual thing. It's a journey of finding these businesses. connecting with these owners is such a different thing to connect with the owner. And I'm including the Black media like yourself because Black media matters. I don't think people understand
Yes.
these podcasts are really the way of the future. And the people who've been doing them and are taking more advantage of them during this pandemic are seeing this is the way for us to communicate. See, if we don't tell our stories, in the words, Ida B. Wells, she says that, the murderers tell the stories. We need to be able to tell our own stories on our own platforms. So what you're doing, Jared, is a wonderful thing, and putting a platform together for people to tell their stories for historical purposes, motivational purposes, and uplifting purposes. So we have we got different podcasts here. We also got brothers and sisters in the media who are doing good too that we need, but Black media matters.
Right.
So, I've been able to feature about 3 podcasts and got some more, and one Black-owned radio station here. And I got some more that I need to feature over time, as well as some more seasoned Black journalists who have their own communication company that don't get the exposure. So what I've been able to do is bring exposure to people. Again, the acronym PI, performance, image, and exposure. So many don't get the exposure. I would say in that pie, that exposure is about 65% of it. So, it's like there's some great seafood places in the Orlando area, and not everybody has a roadmap to them. And I've been able to find a number of them. Mind you, I wasn't even a fan of seafood like that. I'm from Gary, Indiana. We ate some good fish, fried fish, but really, we're not by the ocean. We don't have a bunch of crab. I never eaten crawfish till I came to Florida. That's something, ain't it? So going to these places, shoot, hey, I'm always up for some crab. I'm always up for some oysters. You go and get this, this good flavor in it places. I'm also been able to find men's suit stores, some shirt manufacturers. I've been able to find some medical professionals. Everybody needs a handyman, lawn man. There are all these industries that our brothers and sisters are into that need to be plugged together. And there are groups, like I said, the Chamber of Commerce. We got a group called Black Business Orlando, and they're pushing things together. But it really takes all of us. You never know when somebody starts a business. You never know. They could be somewhere right on the outskirts in the cut. They're not knowing how they're going to get support. All it takes is one to give them exposure and use their network, and poof, we can keep them in business even throughout the pandemic. So it's been a wonderful thing. And while we just had this Blackout Tuesday where people were supporting Black businesses, and I thought it was wonderful. I supported it. My thing is to get that in our mindset every day.
Right.
Even it's saying, like not everybody's gonna do it. I get that, but don't write our brothers and sisters off. We got quality business owners. We got quality products. There's some that aren't quality too. Absolutely, get no question.
So what do you think? What do you think of one of the biggest issues why Black people don't support? I don't want to say support. Well, I guess might as well say support. Don't support Black businesses that much like they support other cultures, like the foreigners who own gas stations or the corner stores or up north the bodegas. Why is it that we prefer to go to other people than ourselves? Why do you think that is?
I think it's a multitude of reasons. Some people group one bad experience and they let it carry out to all Black businesses. They'll have one bad experience. I saw a young lady today posted about a horrible experience at a soul food eatery, and she said, "I'm never going back to a Black business." And it's like, you can't group everybody. I'm sorry that you experienced the bad. And then some people just ride with the ignorant stereotypes unnecessarily. In the same breath, I think some people have some elements of self-hate, and they feel like that Black isn't good enough, so they want to go to some place, some high-end place like a Seasons 52, a Cheesecake Factory, and it's like, treat yourself if you want to, but don't sleep and hate on the Black businesses. I mean, these are the businesses people come to all the time to help them in the community. These are the businesses we want to help us, aid us in every sense of the word. And it's like, so into these businesses, start your own business. I mean, we got everything. We got cleaners. We got even 2 grocery stores in the Popka area, just north of Orlando. And, a lot of people don't even know about them. And it's like, and also advertising is something, it's really easy for Walmart to get a lot of people because they're advertising. They got them all over. So you're conditioned when you see it, even if you don't think about it. When those signs are up, people are seeing it, it internalizes it, and it makes them, I want to go to Walgreens. I want to go to CVS. I want to go to whatever the big grocery store is in your region, whether it's Kroger, Publix, Giant, anything. All that stuff is kind of programmed in. And it's like, if you start Jared Groceries right now, people aren't programmed in. They're wondering what that is. Why should we support it?
Right.
It takes a lot of validation to push people towards you. I've been fortunate enough to have a good, credible reputation for the most part. And with to be a credible, trusted source, it's like if I highlight you, more people take a look at you, and
Okay.
Every once in a while, there are definitely some businesses that could use some pick me up and improvement in the customer service area. But I would say for 98% of the places I've been, they've been right on, and more people have been satisfied, pleasantly surprised, and enjoying and returning customers. And that's what we need across the board. So it's like, while I'm doing it here, hey, that can jump off in New Orleans. I use the hashtag of EHM upgrade because I called it a Black History Month upgrade, and it's still going, and it really just needs to turn into a standard. And I may do some stuff to integrate into a website at some point, but for the moment, it's more of a challenge than you realize sometimes. It's business every day.
All right. So I think we got a little bit ahead that I wanted to go. So let me go back to your daily grind during your daytime. You're an engineer. So
yes.
I like to always ask this question to my guests. What was the biggest mistake you ever did, and how did you come back from
it? As an engineer?
Yeah.
Biggest mistake? Well, I'm gonna tell you one. I'll tell you one that's professional and one that's, I guess, kind of personal. And I guess always know what you're reading. So I take trips to the Middle East. I found myself on a trip over there where I had a visa that was written in Arabic, and I couldn't read it. And what it actually said, if you looked at it, said my visa was for 3 weeks, and we were over there for a couple of months. So I got stuck over there.
Oh.
And it took, I know. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, we get to the airport trying to leave, and they told us, your visa's expired. And I was like, well, if it's expired, why don't you put me out? And they said, no, you got to stay. And I was like, huh? No. It was Thanksgiving, mind you. This was 2007. And I was like, no, I'm going home. I don't think y'all get it. I'm like, my visa's expired. I've overstayed my welcome. That means you push me out. And no, you must stay. And I was like, oh no. So I was furious because I was about to start a national incident right there.
How long you had to stay?
We stayed an extra week. I was mad because I missed all of Thanksgiving. I wanted to go home for Thanksgiving. I was younger. I was still in my 20s. I don't think I'd ever missed a Thanksgiving with my family. But I was mad. I think I did. I angrily went on a shopping spree. We did get paid an extra week, a week and a half or something while being there, and but and also it was a little scary because I didn't know what it was going to take to get out. We just had to refile some paperwork, and we were able to get out in a whole extra week. And in hindsight, they didn't have to handle us like that, but you live and you learn. Outside of that, just in the workplace, some people don't realize that it's hard to shake a stigma. You know, when you come in, you want to set a good, uh, just a good
Baseline.
reputation for yourself. You know, you want to perform, you want to excel. You never know who's watching you when you're not watching. So you know, you want to. It's hard to shake any stigmas that people get. When I first started at Lockheed Martin, I went to, I think in my second week, I don't know, our team had a celebration and I went to it. Again, I was fresh out of college and I'm talking about I got wasted, hammered. And, you know, I thought, you know, it was all good. And, you know, it's like if you're tenured there and people know your work ethic, then it's all good. But it's like, you know, the new guy getting plastered there. I'm talking about, I mean, I was so wasted, I think I may have had to crawl in the back of my car or something. And, you know, but, you know, everybody this week was talking about it. Oh my God, he's wasted. I'm like, it's like, no, you know, you're already you're fitting into a stereotype. You're black, you drink all the time, you know. So it's like it was a stigma that, you know, that had to get shaken. And you know, I've been able to continually perform, you know, was able to perform, was able to do well, was able to work with people. And at the end of the day, if you're a good guy or a good gal, that goes so long away in the way you can perform and stay at a job. See, it's some brilliant people to get put out of the workplace every year. They're
Mhm.
smart, they're brilliant, but people can't work with them. They frustrate people. And even at the end of the year, when people are doing ratings, I'm telling you right now, managers think about, you know, he gives me no problems. She is so on time. She is the first one here. I never have to ask twice. You know, people think about the basic things when they're doing these ratings. And what they think about is, you know, that person's always starting an argument with me. I got him. Oh yeah, she think it's cute. Sending all them emails. I got her. And that,
That's
hey,
true.
that's really what happens. And you know, I even try to mentor and counsel people. You can't make anybody do anything. That you can't. But you know, I try to advise people, and I'm like, you know, there are arguments in the workplace, and see, once they stereotype you and they get you in a zone where people say you got a bad attitude,
Right.
see, anything can happen after that. See, your word doesn't mean anything after that. So people can pick on you. People can try you and do all kind of negative things, and people will be like, well, he's got a bad attitude, so I don't care almost. And it's dead wrong, but that happens. You know, it's like your credibility is shot then. But it's like if you keep that good attitude and just stay above the petty radar. You know, people get petty and everybody wants to get the last word and get in their feelings and say, "Oh, I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman." It's like, yeah, that's all good and dandy, but you know, it's like, you know, what's that got to do with, you know, getting you through the workday? How's that going to get
Okay.
us across the finish line for the work we have to do? So,
Okay. I got
it's
you.
a learning thing for a lot of people. I've seen it.
All right. So, being an engineer, working on some, I would say, top secret or maybe secret projects for the government. I guess, give me one cool project that you work on that you could talk about.
Sure, sure. I can talk. Yeah. I worked on tank trainers. That they weren't the exact tank, but they showed people how to use and fire tanks more accurately. So it was like it's like I don't personally support war. I support people being able to utilize weapons to protect us, and so that there are less casualties, so they can perform well. So I worked on precision gunnery trainers to
Mhm.
taught people how to shoot, operate, and start up a tank, as well as taught people how to drive tanks. Driving a
Okay.
tank is like driving a car with no power steering to the 1,000th degree. It's like I mean, it is really tough. You know, it's really tough. I've had the fortune of being in real life tanks and vehicles, to test them out, to measure things, to see how they operate. There's a lot of engineering and mechanics behind it. It's not like, you know, getting in a car and now pushing a button. I mean, you got to flip all kind of switches in that tank. And you also got like about 5 people in there. And, you know, everybody has to be in sync. You know, it's a patient thing. It's again, it's you know, it's team building. And you know, it's like I didn't know that much about it, but I knew, you know, I could say I knew about systems. But in the, you know, with the tanks, you know, we have some of the, I think, best tanks in the world in the United States of America. We train our military. Our military loves these precision gunnery trainers because they're able to work on them and perform and get better. And it's really like a giant video game, right? And what happens on this video game is if you don't get a certain score, say of like 90% or higher, then you won't be able to get on the real thing. And you know, so it's like, imagine that if you know, one of these driving games, if you didn't score so high, you wouldn't be able to get in a car. That's how it is, you know, how it's become for our military to get in tanks and use them. So it's a great thing. It's a really cool thing.
So I got a question from one of our listeners from a Carl Gilmore. What's up, Carl? It said, ask him what is his greatest accomplishment from Dr. Gilmore.
Well, I'm going to tell you my greatest accomplishment is having a healthy 13-year-old daughter who got all A's on her report card. That's my greatest accomplishment because I know well, we know I couldn't have done it, but I think aside from that, I think just being in the professional realm, what happened with, you know, if you're in the realm long enough, you know, you get laid off, right? It just happens in the defense industry. So I was laid off at a point and had to restart, and it's really hard to restart. You know, it's a hit, it's a sting, it's a painful thing because you put so much time, effort, sweat, equity into the company. You're the company man or company woman. You're committed, and it can depress you and push you down. And it's so easy for people to let that be the end of the story and let that be bitter. And you know, it can just push you to some places. I know people who've never got back in the industry after that. And so I think my greatest accomplishment was after getting, you know, kind of getting pushed out unnecessarily, I kept it going, and not just kept it going. I started my own thing civically, politically, and socially, and was able to get back in the industry, and then have been able to keep it going the whole time. You know, also in there goes that I've been able to give up drinking, and I haven't drank alcohol for over 5 years now.
Okay.
You know, and I did that to be able to focus. So it, you know, it's like everything happens for a reason. So many people look at adversity and cry and yell and say, "Why me?" And just going through it all, I've been able to look at it and say, "I'm the right one for it." So now let's continue and let's build and show other people how to deal with it.
All right, cool. That's what's up. All right. So after being in engineering IT for so long, if somebody was trying to get into the industry, what would you tell them? What would be the do's and don'ts?
I mean, I think it's in paying attention. It's in paying attention. Staying focused, paying attention, doing your job, making sure you're not getting taken advantage of because it's so easy to happen. And I think you want to make sure you get something out of these jobs and not just a paycheck. You know, you need a certification, you need an extra degree, you need some, you know, advanced training that can take you to the next level. The worst thing that happens is people leave jobs they've been in for 15 or 20 years. And it's like, what do you leave there with? And you say, I didn't get an extra degree. They had all these programs, but I ignored them. All I did was do my work. And you got to get more than that. You know, there's certifications from program management certifications to black belt training. One thing I took was this Dale Carnegie Skills for Success. I contend one of the best classes I've taken in my life to help you with successfulness, as well as public speaking, you know, and then starting something on your own while you're working. The book Rich Dad Poor Dad tells us keep your main job, but mind your own business. So, you know, we see right now the need for multiple streams of income. And so I think also put as much as you can into your 401k if you afforded the opportunity. A lot of people don't do that because they're happy getting a paycheck and they're smiling, and I get that. You know, you appreciate it, you feel good that you're bringing something home, but you know, it's really not about what you're doing with it right now. You want to put as much away and make it work for you, you know, so you can hit that age of 55 and say, I don't have to work anymore, you know.
Exactly. I'll be telling, I like to tell people all the time, well, I also hear millionaires have at least 7 streams of income. People need, what people need to do is use your 9 to 5 to invest in your future. Invest in real estate, invest in stock, invest in some, like you said, education to better yourself. Open up a business. Some people got the misconception for you to start a business and you need to quit your 9 to 5. That is not correct. You can start your business and do it a couple hours a week. Then it can turn to 20 hours. Then you could, when you make enough money, you can quit your 9 to 5 and go to your business full time. So that's some very good advice what you said. A lot of people don't realize how many programs that their organization provide. If your organization is willing to send you to school for free, take advantage of that. If they want to pay for your certifications or any type of training, take advantage of it. I take every training that's available to me because I'll do any opportunity.
That's it.
Right. Whatever you learn is with you, and you can take that wherever else you go. I got another question for you. From the comments from Cooper Penny 23. What's going on, Cooper Penny? What advice would you give youth that are interested in STEM?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I applaud the youth who are interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, because so many people are not as into it for various reasons. And for those that are interested in it, I say go for it. Go for it and get good at it. Get great at it. That, you know, some things may seem complex, some things may seem difficult, but at the end of the day, engineering is solving problems. Solving problems is stuff you got to do every day. I had the fortune of teaching the engineering and electronics course for Boy Scouts to get their Eagle Scout badge in it, right? This was a 3-hour course that I had to teach these kids, and was very impressed with many of them. And then there were some of them that felt, you know, that their math skills weren't the best. And, you know, the thing is that you can work at anything and get better. There's tutoring, there's a lot of online tools, and it's like once you solve one tough word problem, you can keep going and going. And then there's so many elements to science, you know, from chemistry to physics, and just don't quit. Don't quit. The way you get through engineering to me at Howard is you don't quit. I saw so many people there were so many people that started out in engineering and they shifted somewhere else for communications, business, English, and that's fine. You know, it's like, do what's for you. But it's like, if you keep forging forward in it, you know, you're bound to do well in it. You just got to forge forward, and you really got to try. And you know, I think focus is the key right now for our youth. You know, it's like minimize the time on social media, spend more time reading a book or trying to do the math problems in the back of the book. You know, I see the things out here. Netflix can be a distraction. Disney Plus, which I enjoy and found myself watching all weekend. You know, all these social media outlets. I can't tell you how I would have done it if all this stuff was around in the 90s. I'm not sure if I could have been as focused on it. And I mean, there's always vices out there, but people just got to realize the real fun don't start until you're grown. So keep working all the way through it. You're not missing nothing. The worst thing that can happen is you can be, you come back to that class reunion and you say, you see, man, homie, in high school you used to be the man, homie.
So Cooper Penner has another question. As a minority in STEM, how important is it to have a mentor in my field? So
it is.
It's very important. Go ahead, I'll let you answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So it's very important to have a mentor in the field because I don't know about you, Russell. I didn't have a mentor during college or in high school, or I didn't get my first mentor until I got my first IT job. It was an older black man who showed me the ropes, who told me what to do, how to act professional in the IT industry. So it would have been very invaluable to have somebody to guide me from high school, college, because not having a mentor to talk to, you doing everything on your own. Like you could, instead of, if you have somebody guiding you, instead of taking this class, you can go ahead and take this path. Or instead of somebody, I didn't know anything about internships until after I graduated college. I didn't know anything about internships. I didn't know anything about, I think when we was in college, I don't even think they even had STEM camps to my knowledge. So today's youth has a lot of advantages that we didn't have. They have technology, they have YouTube, they got social media. So it's easy for them to find a STEM camp. So, but I think it's very, very important to find a mentor. There's a lot of organizations in your city. Even in my current position where I work at, I volunteer. I'm a STEM coordinator, and I do STEM activities with other organizations. The New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans, they do a big STEM fest. But so most big organizations have like some type of STEM team that goes out and presents. So just go ahead and research and look that up. But a mentor is very good to have. You want to respond to that, Russell?
Yeah, and let me just add to everything you said is 100%, 1,000% true. But so many people don't make it because they don't have a mentor. They didn't have an advocate. There are people that still do. There's some people that press through and you can't stop them. But it means so much to have somebody just to navigate you a little bit to help you from those pitfalls that are right there. And especially being black in the workplace or a woman in the workplace, there are tight situations that people don't know how to handle, and they look back on it and say, knowing what I know now, I should have, could have, would have, but I didn't. And it's like that. That's what the mentor is there for. And I think coming out of college, Howard University has a very good program that pushes you towards internships within engineering. That they do. They have a great one. Push you to conferences like Black Engineer of the Year and NSBE of that sort. And so I was blessed to have that, but I realized that's not the norm. So a lot of people don't have that incubator of support around them to help them get in those positions, nor get the experience, nor get the mindset right. So it's super tough, and those mentors are necessary. And people listen out there, y'all need to take the time to be mentors if you're experienced. Don't be selfish and say, I got mine, you got to get yours. Don't be like that. It's like it's on us to really help others up at this point. You can't, so many people to me, they're selfish. They're complete selfish and say, I'm here, you need to get there. Come see me in my office. If you don't see me, that's that. And it's like, their brothers and sisters really struggling in the workplace. It's like, take some time to help that person because you ain't get there by yourself.
All right, good answer. I did all that you just said. All right, they coming in with the comments. You got another one from Carl Gilmore again. Question for the Russell Drake. Where are we with the current state of equality and how can we move forward?
Oh my God. I gotta take off my glasses.
We gotta take the glasses off.
So it's an interesting thing. So let's look at it globalistically and then in the industry, right? We're struggling for equality right now, unfortunately. We're struggling for equality. We're really doing horrible with equity overall.
Mm-hmm.
That's all people want is the opportunity, the fair chance. That everything that's written in the Constitution, the preamble of it, we want applied. So right now we're in a tough spot. From the tragic killing of George Floyd, which is called outrage all across the nation, and has led to a lot of people saying I need to do something better for blacks. It's high time, overdue. Great, but I think we're missing it in so many ways. And at some point, I think our brothers and sisters who are at the top in these industries, whether they're at the VP, CEO levels, director levels, have to connect with our community advocates and leaders and understand that it's bigger than getting your company to stroke a check to the NAACP. If you really want equity and equality, then you need to worry about the 20% pay gap that black men and women have with their white counterparts who are doing the same job equally as well. If we want to talk about real equity, we need to talk about while excuse me, there may be 13% of some businesses that are black for the 13% of the population that's black. But if you look in the leadership realm, you don't have 13% of the leaders that are black. You don't have people in upper management or directors. You don't have as many people up there. Although, some companies are top heavy and some are not. You don't have people that look like us and the people that can relate to. Even when this issue broke out and so many people in workplaces were scrambling to see what they can do, what they realized is that, man, we got fewer people in these leadership roles. When you walk in a room, how often do you walk in rooms and realize you're the only black person, or you're the only female, or you're the only minority, period. I used to write little codes on a piece of paper when I sat in a room for, how many persons were black or not black or Asian or something like that. Like I would just keep my own stats at one point because it was so noticeable. I would do that for those. It's like, but to get equality, it has to be a demand. The late Frederick Douglass said that power concedes nothing without a demand. The demand in these workplaces has to be that there's more equity across the board. I think a good thing would be to tell these companies, you want to show you love your black employees, get a 40% raise to represent the 40 acres and a mule for the blacks that never got it. Because see, who got bailed out after the Civil War was the slave owners got reparations. 40 acres and a mule didn't come to so many families. People were, still in it. Mind you, we know Juneteenth of 1965 was when so many people just found out they were free in the state of Texas. So you had this. You have so much that's been taken from people, and the thing that also in the industry they got to realize, these are triggering events that have been happening. These haven't been it's not like when you look at George Floyd. Heck, I fit the profile. Jared, you fit the profile. My brother, I got a youngest brother named Jared. He fits the profile. No matter how educated, no matter how skilled, no matter what amount of wealth you've attained, you fit it. And it's like until we it's like these companies are coming out and saying we appreciate you, we care, I respect it. I think it's wonderful. I think I thought PepsiCo was giving people, not giving them, but people who had earned it were getting promotions and moving up the ladder appropriately. And that doesn't happen everywhere. So now is the time to demand it. That needs to be the demand from not just these affinity groups at these companies. That needs to be the demand from our civic groups, from these fraternities and sororities that I find myself a part of. That, mind you, the attorney Ben Crump is a part of Omega Psi-Phi, who's been highlighting these efforts. But it's going to take more than him to push the needle of equality and equity across the board. And the notion that Black lives matter. And if Black lives matter, Black dollars matter, Black home ownership matter, Black businesses matter, Black media matters, Black minds matter. Black women matter, and we got to protect our Black women because they get the short end of the stick in the whole thing too. So it takes the actionable items are to, for us in those people who are at those top levels. Like, I mean, see, Dr. Gilmore, I assume he's in a leadership role and pushing, but he's got to get his colleagues along with him to push, to say, hey, there needs to be tangible financial change. Nothing is good until there's tangible financial change. Nothing is good. The same way with policies that advocates in the community are saying nothing's good till those policies are changed. Nothing's good. Everything is appreciated, but it's not good. We got to make the financial shift to really show there's equality and equity. If you don't put your money in it, it's no good.
Man, that was an excellent speech. So that is a good segue into your community efforts. I was doing some research on you, and I see that you are highly in the government or civic arena, government, religious. So right now, you want to talk about how you are the first vice president of the Democratic Party in what part of Florida?
Black Caucus. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. About 5 years ago, I got active with the Democratic Black Caucus, and that's it's in my county, and it was a group that hadn't been active, and overall, to make a long story short, some senior members of the community had fell out and weren't able to work together. Happens with many of our groups, churches, and everything else. They wanted somebody to pick it up and run it, and in some instances, I almost feel like I was almost set up to fail. And because I'm good at working with people, was able to put some things together and make it work. Was able to put together a whole political machine, operate not just to educate the community, not just to reach and represent for the community, but to also push good people into office across the board. And from there, started working and doing it in multiple areas of the region, not just my county, and been able to expand to the state. So I did get to the state level with the Democratic Black Caucus of Florida, the duly elected first vice president. But the title is the title, right? With that, been able to try to work and mobilize to get more people to understand that their vote matters. Their vote is their voice. You hear a lot of people say it's not, and if it weren't, then people wouldn't be trying to take it away from us so much, would they?
Mm-hmm.
So, every vote counts, every voice counts, and try to educate people. I'm also the innovator of something called VoteTheWholeBallot.com, which is almost like a recommendation slate card that looks just like the ballot, except it's color coded and digital, and it helps give people an opportunity to get more insight about different offices that they don't know about. See, when I first moved here, I found myself going to vote in August of 2004 and not knowing anybody on the ballot. I didn't know anybody. I knew nothing to vote for. It was the primary, so you couldn't just go down and vote Democrat. And there were people in the booth, like I remember people in there saying, "Hey, you look smart. Do you know who to vote for?" And I was like, "I am smart, and I don't know who to vote for. I feel so." So after that, I told myself, I'm never going to be in this situation again, and I'm not going to leave people in this situation again. And I came from the Howard University. Here I was, working hard in student government, getting people in the office there, educating people. And I'm like, I've come to my own community, and I'm like, you've lost your focus, Drake. You gotta get back to it. And I work from, so many times people want to jump up and say, I'm at the top. And that's not the way to do it. You gotta work and work at the grunt level and ground level. So I've done everything from knocking on doors in the heat, getting yelled at, getting hit with sprinklers. I've been,
hit you with sprinklers?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, some people turn their sprinklers on you. You'd be surprised. So, but yeah, I've been through all that. I've gone to, aggressive neighborhoods. I've gone to places where they won't open the door. I've gone to people. I've made my way to places where there's no do not disturb sign, but they got dogs in the yard that just so happens that I know how to deal with dogs. All right. It's like I started from there, the bottom, and gradually worked and got, got opportunities. Was always active with the NAACP. I don't think they're performing to their max potential just yet, but I'm still was always a part of it. I'm a part of Urban League Young Professionals. I'm a part of National Association of Black Journalism. Although I'm not a journalist, I understand how much they matter. So I want to be a part of it to, add any value I can. If they need a community connection, they reach out to me. And I'm always extended the hand of friendship to people. And you never know where people are going. So like right now, I know a lot of people in different positions that I've always befriended over time. So many people walk by people and say, bye, you got nothing to do for me. But it's like you do that and you miss your opportunity. Treat people how you want to be treated. And so, got a lot of advocates and mentors across the nation who are doing great things, colleagues, classmates, and it's really, it takes everybody. Somebody in California is doing some great things technologically, and what they're doing technologically really may be something that may be able to help us calm down all the violence we see in our own Black communities. That we haven't completely solved yet. But there may be some ways. I think technology is a way that we sleep on so much. You got some people in New York who are doing great things, and I see the efforts up there in DC, Atlanta. A lot of times Florida is slept on because we're at the bottom of the map. But we got potential down here, and just creating a way to shine a light on great talent and push people up the ladder. By the way, I hope Congresswoman Val Demings is our vice president. Hey. But yeah, so, we got good talent. There's good talent in Louisiana too, though. I got the president of the Urban League is from there, I believe.
Murray, right? Yeah, Mo Murray. Yeah. He's CEO of Urban League. Yeah. So, I got a question for you. So, do you still believe in a two-party system? Because I'm Democratic because I was raised Democratic. At one point, I switched to independent because this is just my belief. I believe that the Democrat and Republican party system divides us more than help us. I prefer us to even get, in my own personal opinion, I think to dissolve it and just focus on the actual candidates, so people can know who they're voting for. But the problem is a lot of media doesn't give a lot of attention to local votes, or local elections, I should say, because when you go, like you said, when you go to voting votes, most people don't even know who to vote for. They go usually in our community, they say, "Oh, I'll vote for the Democrat," or if they know they Black, they vote for, they're Black Democrats, so I'm just gonna vote for them. But we don't even know what the principles are. We don't know the education. We don't know anything about them. So, do you believe that either we should get rid of the party system, or should we, as far as each party, do better in engaging with the local media so people have been more involved about the local election candidates?
So I think for the moment, the party system, I think is the party system for the moment. Mm-hmm. After 2024, it may be time to look at something broader. Okay. I am a part of the Democratic Party. Proudly, I'm down with the party. I'm down for the cause. I let my voice be heard, and I bring Black issues to the party. That's what the Black Caucus is supposed to do. So, it's like I bring our candidates and our issues. If they not, ain't nothing going quietly with us. But I think we've lost our ways, and more often than not, you even see people switching parties so that they can pick up support in different elections. So, the values of these parties start to get compromised in some sense of the word. So if everybody said, hey, let's just not have a party and let's just go with the system of who's the best candidates, I'd be up for that. I don't think there's a problem with that across the board. I do know that the thing is in the dollars and cents of it all, right? In these debates and things of these sorts, there are deals that are made with different networks and everything. So, you only have Democratic candidates or Republican candidates, and you don't have people who are NPAs who may be qualified and skilled as well. unless you're, somebody, I think 10 years ago, Governor Charlie Crist switched to be from a Republican to be an MPA to run for senator, seeing he was about to lose his Senate primary race. And, he already had a huge following and was able to compete. He still lost the election. But, for the average person, they get no exposure. You get platforms because of the party. And a lot of people put money straight towards the party. If you look at it right now, you see you got a progressive movement who's, strong on the left. You had this Tea Party, Trumpers just all the way on the right. Somewhere in the middle, you have some who are moderate. You have some who are, just towing the line of being liberal. And, there may be some fractions. There's been talk about saying, let's just get a party for Black folks. And, it's like you could try to do that, but the numbers are not in our favor if we ever do that anyway. And it shouldn't. See, it's like it shouldn't come down to race. See, politics is how much and who gets it. And as long as we have some people in office who understands, how much there is, and they're equitably spreading it around for who gets it, I'm with them. I'm with them. And there are some people that have the same melanin as us that will not spread it equitably, who have not, and are sitting there right now in different offices doing really bad or looking really stupid, in my opinion. But yeah, so it's like it's about who's best to get in there and legislate, represent, and who's going to talk with the people to really get their issues across. So the party system, like I think here in Orange County, Florida, we have a very solid party. We've been able to crank out some crucial wins. Our Black Caucus is running pretty well. So we've been blessed in this county. When Mary Andrew Gillum was running for governor, this county was the first county that they called for him. The first county that they could tell that he won in his primary race. So, we've been doing a bang up job across the board. Credit to all those who work and knock doors and make phone calls. But, I could really see, maybe not in 4 years, but maybe in 8 years or 12 years, if the whole party system, poof, just goes away.
Okay.
And I'm ready for it.
You ready for it?
I'm ready for it in any way.
So since we're talking about politics, what is your opinion about the Candace Parker?
The what?
Not Candace, but the Republican Black woman that they always use to go to. That's her name, Candace Parker. I believe that's her name.
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. I'm sorry. Yes, Candace Owens. What are your feelings about her? I mean, I like some of her things are factual, she says, but what are your feelings and opinions about her?
So first, let me start out by saying I don't know her. I've never met her, and I don't know much about her, and I've never taken the time to learn anything about her. Needless to say, I don't care about much about what she said. I've seen, some of the clips, a few clips of things here. She's she appears to be a hardcore conservative, but look at many of the things, it's in the money trail. I'm sure she's getting paid well to say different things, to advocate. She has this movement where she calls it Blexit, exiting blacks from Democratic Party. And, I think much of her rhetoric is foolish across the board. It's amazing that she has the following that she has, but it's all in the dollars and cents. You follow to see who's bankrolling her, who's putting her up to all this to say these different antics. It's like, I'm not a fan of anybody who is the part-time black. About a month and a half ago, Joe Biden said some things on the Breakfast Club that were stupid. And I was like, I'm a Democrat, but I have to call you out, VP Biden. You have to do better. That is some nonsense, what you said. And, I think she and Senator Tim Scott and other folks expressed their outrage as blacks. And, mind you, a week later, you had the killing of George Floyd. Heck, Senator Tim Scott ain't say nothing for a month. And I'm like, how you gonna say something and say you're outraged? I'm a black man. I'm outraged by what VP Biden said. I'm like, okay, but be equally, if not paramountly, as outraged when an innocent man is killed on live TV in a modern day lynching. There should be the same aggression. There shouldn't be, it's like if I didn't call VP Biden out, I'd be being fake. So I'm like, oh no, I heard it and I looked at it. I'm like, no, that's unacceptable. You got to do better. I'm like, you can't let that slide. But it's like, don't let nothing slide. Stop the subjectivism or waiting to see let me see what Trump does so he can pull my strings with it. And that's to me, that's the nonsense. Be your own person with it. So I don't think she's being her own person. I don't think Senator Tim Scott, one of 3 black senators that we have, and the only black Republican senator that we've had in probably since Reconstruction, since Hiram Rebel was a senator, the first black senator. And yeah, so then that's the truth now. But then be black all the time. Don't be subjectively black. Today I want to be a real black man. Today I want to be a real black woman. And I'm like, you don't get to do that. I think you look no different than Sister Omarosa, right? She plays the game for a little while, and then what happens? She plays it till she gets bounced out of there. Now she's back on the team, and it's like, yeah, we accept you. Omarosa, fellow Howard alum. It's like it's all love, but we can't pretend like you wasn't selling out for a little while. We just can't pretend it. It's like you took the money, you got in there, you said some stuff that was untrue, that was hurtful to the community and the people that represented and supported you. That was bad. And at some point, people realize it. I look at Kanye. I'm not sure what's going on with Kanye, in the whole thing of it. I know he's not even going to be qualified to run for president, but it's like when these people use you and abuse you, they're going to be done with you. So it's like, get on something where you can really stand your ground and what you believe in. Don't sit up here. I hear the names. I don't like calling people names like Coombs and things of that sort. I don't. I think it's bad. But it's like on occasion I look and say, well, it may be fitting you right now, but they are getting checks though. Yeah, she getting a check.
All right. So who do you think would be a perfect fit for Joe Biden's running mate for VP?
They're quality candidates, right? First, I do believe he needs to pick a black woman to be the VP because there are so many qualified black women. I think the times speak for it and beg of it. And if you look at the qualifications, so often to me, I think we look at these, we scrutinize our black elected officials and we hold them to the candle and we're pushing them. And it's like, but we let other folks be mediocre. We let other folks abuse us. We don't yell at them or throw anything at them, anything of the sort. So, I think we got some great quality people. I look at, I think Kamala Harris is a candidate that he's considering. Senator Kamala Harris, Howard University alum, former Attorney General in the state of California, in the Senate, senator. I think she's an option. I think Sister Stacey Abrams, right above us in the state of Georgia, who should be the governor right now, if it weren't for the bastardization of the system that they did with the current governor there, who was in charge of things.
Right.
So I think she's a viable candidate. I've heard Condoleezza Rice's name being floated around. She was a good Secretary of State, a very smart woman, very intelligent woman, is slept on so many occasions. Granted, she's in a Republican Party, but hey, she's a smart lady. I fooled with her and got mad respect for her. I heard Michelle Obama's name floated around. I already know President Obama ain't letting that happen, but
she done with it. She done with the White House. She don't want to pass that on.
Nah, they ain't coming back.
No way. It's just a wish and a dream right there. That's a wish and a dream right there.
Not happening. But my personal favorite, who I think would be the best pick, would be Congresswoman Val Demings from House of Representatives, state of Florida, District 10. My Congresswoman, I think she did wonderful as she was one of the impeachment managers. The way she presented, the way she delivers. I think she has a great career in law enforcement, and not just in law enforcement, but as a police chief. So she understands the ins and outs. And yeah, it's like people try to group her with law enforcement, but I'm like, she's the only female police chief in the history of Orlando. She's the only Black woman to be police chief in the history of Orlando, Florida. She dealt with a whole lot that she doesn't even tell people about. Mm-hmm. So she persevered through the fire. She's a good Christian woman, attends St. Mark AME Church here. She actually has a good voice to sing everywhere in the choir, and on different occasions she can go. Okay. She's a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a native of Jacksonville, Florida. She's a trailblazer in our community, and I think she'd be a wonderful fit. To represent all people.
Some people are putting some people in there saying Susan Rice. Cooper Penny is saying Susan Rice, and then Carl Gilmore saying Demings.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Congresswoman Demings. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So I think we got some. They're good candidates. I will tell you this: there will be some huge disappointment if Vice President Biden does not select a Black female to be his running mate. Okay. I mean, there will be some huge disappointment. Now, and at this point, yes, we know Trump has to go. He has to, because at this rate, with we thought we were hitting the second wave and realized we're in the first wave of the coronavirus, and with Florida and Texas numbers picking up, and Louisiana not far from behind. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, keep this man in here too much longer, he gonna take us all out.
So what do you because I see a lot of surprisingly enough Black people who are supporting Trump. Like recently today, I was watching a Black Breakfast Club interview, and I think she's running for either state representative or congressman. I can't remember her name. She was formerly incarcerated, and Donald Trump released her because of the new, I forgot, is it called the First Act or something like that? That released about, I think about 7,000, maybe 1,000 former convicts who were penalized heavily back in when they signed when Bill Clinton and them signed that crime bill that sent a lot of Black and brown people in jail for, I think it was 3 strikes and you out. And I'm starting to see a lot of Black people supporting Trump, saying he's done more for Black people than any other president in history. Do you believe any of that, or is there any facts to that?
So, if you mean more for Black people by talking about the most people per capita who are dying from the coronavirus, if you mean more for Black people by the most people who are out of work and struggling to get unemployment, struggling to get resources in this pandemic, if you mean more by talking about telling law enforcement agencies all across the nation to profile and look for more Black persons to abuse and or pick on, pushing that down to different agencies and only taking strong chiefs and sheriffs and commissioners pushing against it, that he's doing more to push us backwards? Absolutely. Now, compared to President Obama,
One more thing she said that he's the only president to guarantee the fully fund HBCUs and Christian HBCUs.
Yeah. Though he ain't fully funded one HBCU, first and foremost. That he's not. I know he signed a bill that Congress put forth to give some money to HBCUs, but to be honest, that ain't even enough. It's not. There is no bill that's funding all HBCUs this week. No, we know that across the board. Absolutely not. What happens is he's pardoning a few people from jail and from prison time. And I'm glad that some people are getting pardoned. That I am. I do think that so many people are incarcerated, and it's a bad thing. They shouldn't be, and overwhelming numbers tell us majority of people incarcerated happen to be Black and Latina too. So I'm glad to see people getting pardoned. Now, the president who's pardoned the most people combined of all presidents in the last century is President Obama. President Obama pardoned more people than all his predecessors put together in the last 100 years. And if you add in the folks at 45 is pardoned, he's pardoned more than all of them too. He did a remarkable job with pardoning people. I wish he would have, I personally wish he would have pardoned more people, but I think he did what he did, in there. Yeah, I was hoping in his last days he would have just opened the doors.
Sign a reparation deal, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we see the demographics and how it's set against us. And it's like, how can we be the majority and incarcerated where we're 13% of the population? In the same breath, what the current president's doing is he's making deals with these people, saying, if I let you out, you need to come out and support me. That's why you see the former governor of Illinois, Blagojevich, coming out and saying that he's supporting Donald Trump. These arrangements and deals that were made. It almost makes me wonder when I hear about the former mayor of Detroit, Michigan, Kwame Kilpatrick. It seemed like was going to get out of prison, and something happened, and he's magically stuck back in prison. I wonder if there was, he wasn't going to comply with the deal, and he's back in there. But it's all, it's all a deal to be made. No, Trump has not done the most to help Blacks at all. He wants to take credit for all kind of stuff, but no, he hasn't. And you need look no further than you and me. What's he done for us? Exactly. So, I'm Black. What did you do for me? So, yeah. So I think he pales in comparison to President Obama. I think President Obama did the best he can. Did one of the most remarkable jobs of any living president, any president in our modern time. I think only presidents that may be able to say they did better than him, arguably could be FDR, Lincoln, and I would maybe I don't know, maybe some Eisenhower's first term, but I think President Obama did a wonderful job, and he had a lot working against him. He handled it well with professionalism, and I know if he were the president right now, we wouldn't be sitting in a pandemic for 6.5 months. Where we're sitting here right now trying to figure out how kids are going to go back to school.
Agreed. All right. So we can let's switch back to the political train because we went all into that. So I see you also do a little bit of mentoring as well. You also do a lot of activities in the church. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Mentoring is the key. The youth are our future, and if we don't guide them and help them the best we can, then we're setting our future up for them. People don't understand that we plant seeds for trees we'll never get to sit under, but our grandchildren and great grandchildren will get to sit under. So you mentor people, and it takes each one to reach one and teach one. So it's like if you got the opportunity, well, first you got to raise your kids. That's first. You have to be present in your children's lives. And then, and you also got to be able to raise your children's friends. See, people act like, oh, well, I can't discipline them. And it's like, yeah, you ain't got to whoop people, but you can set the standard so they know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And then if you have a little more time, then, get a mentee or two and, teach them some things, set a good example for them, help them to understand some things. See, many times we say we got to get at-risk kids. All kids are at risk. All kids are at risk. All kids are at risk. Doesn't matter what background you come from. There's different obstacles. There are different uncertainties. There are different insecurities. There are different unknowns that these children are battling every day. So every opportunity I get, I try to go to schools. Before the pandemic, I was trying to go to schools at least twice a month to, lend some words to motivate them. At my church, I'm a mentor to several children. With my fraternity, we have a good mentoring group going that I guess we had it going off and on for 10 years, but we got more consistently with it. Actually, Dr. Gilmore was one of the proponents in getting our mentoring started here. So mentoring is the key, though. If we don't reach our youth right now, they'll be lost. They'll be lost, and then we'll wonder, well, why aren't they listening to us? And they'll be like, yeah, you had the time 20 years ago to talk to them. You chose not to. So now they're doing their own thing.
Okay.
I'm in the church. I am active in the church. I'm a Christian man. It's interesting. I too go to St. Mark AME Church, where Congresswoman Demings goes, amongst other folks. And I think church is my not just safe place, my refuge. When you get frustrated, lost, church has always found a way to give me the answers I need to bring knowledge to the people in many ways. Everything I do, it's a gift from God. Anytime it seems like I'm expanding or moving up, I'm expanding God's territory using the natural born talents that my parents and Carlton and Linda Drake imparted into me, and using them for good.
All right. So what was that moment when you realized that Russell Drake was a success?
To be honest, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm not there yet. A lot of people pat themselves on the back. I'll say this: I've navigating in my career and even civically and politically. The toughest things that can happen is, when folks you used to look up to almost stab you or jab you. And that happens all the time because the way you perform. When you outperform people, good people push you up. But when you outperform some folks, they can't take it. And it's a blow to you. And I took some political blows. And it's like after taking blows, it makes you question and reevaluate things. But I got a mantra where I say I will not stop, because I say I'm always moving. It's constantly a movement, whether it's an election, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether we're standing up for Black women or the women's movement overall. It's always a movement. So I will not stop. Whether you're on your own tip and working out, it's like I always said, I will not stop. So long as I keep on to going, I will not stop, and I'm kind of grabbing and moving forward. It's like I'm running, like I will not stop. So I'll keep going and going and going. And even when I'm not feeling good, something happens to pick me up. And it's totally unexpected. And I think that happens, and that's God's grace right there.
Okay.
Whether it's being honored with a drum major for social justice award from the city of Orlando and Alpha fraternity, which again, totally unexpected. Whether it's being honored for being a good mentor, the Delta Sigma Theta's Embody program, something unexpected. It's like these things happen when you feel like you're deflated and you keep going. So it's like I'm moderately successful, but I don't think success is completely successful until you have successors. So it's like I'm still going the route, and I may be hitting a good stride, but I don't think I'm close to the success bar yet.
Okay. I got one more comment from Carl Gilmore again. He says, this is my last question. What promise do you see with current social and political climate?
Yeah. I think the promise is you got more people that are waking up earlier. Music kind of transcends generations, right? And if you look at it, we went through some generations of feel good, euphoria, drinking, money, cash, women, and we're ciphering back to more of a conscious musical era. Conscious, you got the J. Coles out there. Conscious, you got Common being relevant again. Conscious, you have Kendrick Lamar out here. Conscious, you got Chance the Rapper out here. All this consciousness, Jay-Z and Beyonce, more conscious in their lyrics. All that speaks to the waking up of society. So people are waking up more. That means there's more promise. There's more promise. People are paying attention more to just the top of the ballots. They're looking to vote the whole ballot. That means there's more promise out there. For who's going to rise to the top, we have opportunity. We just have to organize. The late Kwame Ture used to speak about Dr. King, saying Dr. King was able to mobilize as best he could, but got taken out before he could formally organize it all. And so many are mobilizing right now in this movement. We're so good, and now it's going to take us to organize. And once we organize, then we're going to see the promises of everything that are mentioned in the Bible and beyond. So we can move forward. We'll be able to move forward. And let's build Black power. That's really what we want to do. We want to build the Black power economically first, then politically, then socially and educationally. But let's build it. And if we don't, and if we just learning from the past in all our civic groups, we didn't put economics first, and we see where we've gotten in over 100 years. So now we know better. We're doing better. We're pushing the narrative so much right now. This year alone, the narrative has been pushed towards Black businesses more than you've probably heard in the last decade, right? So
Right.
We're getting it. So the promise is right there. We got to push it, and somehow we got to get some folks to get over the notion of who gets the credit. That the egos got to get put aside to understand, put the pettiness down so you can get to a greater purpose. There are some folks that are toting their chest and they want to be up front and don't realize that all of us are going to get there. Somebody's going to be out front one day. Let that person have their day. Somebody's going to be out front another day. Let that person have their day. We all, we're all pushing each other up. And don't be afraid to pass the baton in doing it. It's like when you go to these protests. Heck, man, I used to go to so many protests. My voice used to be a lot stronger, I guess. But it's like I was at a protest in the last month. Heck, I was doing the yelling and yelling and yelling. The next day, I could barely talk. I couldn't talk. And I remember I went to another protest, and they were like, "You want to lead it?" And I was like, "I got no voice." But it's like symbolically, it means a lot if I'm standing there. But I said, you know what? It can. But I'm willing to pass the baton because this brother right here, he can go too. So, we gotta be comfortable enough to pass the baton without feeling like our feelings are getting hurt or we're getting disrespected, or we can't, that we can't help another brother or sister get up the ladder. We all in it together, and we rise together. We all stick together and rise as brothers and sisters, or we'll perish together as fools.
Okay. My last question for the night. We talked about political mentoring, your man of fate. If somebody wants to get in your field as an engineer, computer, IT, whatever, what do you recommend they should do? So they concentrate just on getting a degree or certifications? What do you recommend? Because going to school these days costs a lot of buckets.
It does. So I think it's one thing. I think you got to focus on getting into a good school. Get in where you fit in. Not everywhere. It's hard to get in all these schools. So you get in where you fit in. Then when you get into university, you work to find scholarships for yourself. There's so much money you can get while you're in college that people don't go after. So you look in the internet's a great source now. There used to be books that you could look in, but now you can look on the web and find them. Different companies are giving them out, and people aren't even contacting them. So you can make some calls or send some emails, and because you got good grades, if you focus and get good grades, you can get more money into yourself. And it's like once you get more money in, then you keep going the route. You get your undergraduate degree. And if you really like school, then keep going and get a master's or a doctorate if you really like it. Now, if you're ready to roll, me, I was like, I'm done. I'm good, But there's some folks that are excelling, and because you finish in engineering doesn't mean you got to stay in that field. There's so many realms. It's all about a way of thinking that it puts you into. So I know I got some friends who finished in engineering, went on to law school, successful lawyers. Some navigated to be physics majors and then came back to the engineering realm professionally. Some went on to med school. Some went on to be patent engineers. So there's a lot of opportunity in it. And I'd say focus on your work. You got to focus. Study when other folks are partying and things like that. They say the partying can wait. I find myself in libraries. Wow, I think just thinking back about it, my early years in college, I'd be in the study room, a library, when everybody else was out, and it's like, I just knew if I don't keep my scholarship, I'm probably going to have to go home. And it's like, I wanted to keep my scholarship and I wanted to get more. So it's it's a focus thing. It's a discipline thing. And, I know there are a lot of vices like social media out there, partying, drinking, persons, if they can use recreational medicinal substances and stuff of that sort, but let all that stuff go. Focus, focus. It's all on you at this point.
Okay. All right, man. I didn't realize we've been on this long. We've been on for an hour and a half.
That's good.
You preaching some knowledge. I appreciate you coming on the show. Please let the people know where they can contact you on Facebook, Twitter, IG. What's your website?
Hey, my website is therusselldrake.com. On Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Russell Drake, RussellDrake. On Facebook, I'm Russell Drake. I got a personal page and a public page. You could like and friend request me. If available, I got to go back and look. Facebook got that max amount of friends, so I have to go back through and see who I can remove to add people. And, So, on people's birthdays, I go through and look and be like, do I like that person anymore? And I might go remove them. So, that's how the cookie crumbles at this point, And I thank you, Jared, for the opportunity and the, great work you continue to do. People need to subscribe to you while they're out there saying that they're supporting Black businesses. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to support Black media. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It's free to do this. So, these brothers and sisters are out here working and doing stuff every day, So they need to support you. And I'll tell you what, in 30 minutes, I'm going to have a post up for my business of the day,
Okay. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for all the listeners and comments. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you please like and subscribe to the podcast. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. Thank you, Cooper Penny. We had some other people on who commented, but I think they logged off by now. But thank y'all for listening. Thank you, Russell Drake, for your great comments. I appreciate you. Until the next time, we out.
Hey.